It is time to talk about Superman. I'm so excited to do a long form video for Superman because this movie was incredible. I honestly wanted to see it a second time before doing a long spoilery everything type of video, but we're here. This movie made me a fan of DC. I grew up watching Batman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, a little bit of Justice League, but nothing crazy. And the movies never really got my attention apart from the Suicide Squad, obviously the Dark Knight, obviously the Batman. Like, come on. But Man of Steel never got me. Batman vs Superman definitely didn't get me. Aquaman was pretty good. The first Wonder Woman was pretty good. Second Wonder Woman, was there a second Aquaman? Yeah, the one with Black Manta. I barely know these characters. But there was just something about this movie, man, that was so special to me. I feel like I'm watching the beginning of a great universe, if that makes sense. Even though this universe is already built and so lived into the characters and the character experiences and the interactions that we get, the news outlets, whatever it may be, the Justice Gang fighting the dimensional imp while Superman is just depressed drinking cocoa, like stuff like that. I just absolutely adored about this movie, that it didn't make you feel like you were an idiot, and that James Gunn took the leap of faith in us as a viewer of comic book movies and knowing that we've been through so many. I love the fact that it started with the Star Wars-esque scroll, and the first bit of Superman that we ever see on the big screen again after 10 plus years is him getting beat to a pulp. And that's another thing that James Gunn kind of did it a little bit too much, but I love that it humanized Superman so much, especially in the current state of the world. Before we get too deep into it, I gotta give my score. And honestly, even after sitting with it for 2 days, I'm still at like an 8 or a 9. I think I gave it a 4.5 on Letterboxd. I was such a big fan that I had to get a crypto plushie. This thing is adorable, and I don't usually buy stuff from the movie theaters. Like, I don't know, I think you could see it. That right there, that's my goat right there, Toothless. I had to get that day one, regardless of how the live action went. I needed that in my life. But this is adorable. Anyways, back to it. We get Superman beat to a pulp at the very beginning. He goes into the Fortress of Solitude, or gets Crypto. That's the scene that we had seen in the trailer. Absolutely love Crypto. The CGI on him was absolutely incredible. The way that he interacts with Superman. At first I was like, is Crypto not his dog? Because like he wasn't listening to him at all. But we get the explanation for that later on, which was a great scene and a great surprise cameo that I was not expecting. That and another cameo. I went into this completely blind, was not expecting either of them, and I was genuinely surprised. And when I saw the second one, my jaw was on the floor. I honestly could probably go through the entire movie, but we would be here forever. So I'm just gonna give y'all some of my favorite moments. The Lois and Clark scenes when they're in the apartment together, that was really special to me because like I've said, I've never been into DC, but I obviously know the characters, know how they interact and stuff. And seeing Lois just be such a good reporter in that moment to Superman, and like giving him the hard truth or the hard reality of how people will see his actions, regardless of what he thinks is good or not, was really like a good way to clash with Superman's ideology without obviously being on the level of Lex Luthor or a villain. Like a human way of seeing Superman's actions, and that was really smart. And seeing, obviously they had the banter and stuff. Hashtag super shit was hilarious when Clark was like, you know, that one gets to me. I love that one. I love that part. But that whole interaction just felt like these people have been together or interacting for a long time. And it didn't feel out of place to be thrown into that, given that obviously that was the first real interaction we got with them. Mr. Terrific was a huge huge plus. When I posted my TikTok video review of it, I already got recommendations for Mr. Terrific comics, which I'm definitely gonna get into because he was dope. When he said, "I'm Mr. Terrific, god damn it," I love that. The whole action scene, which was very Yondu-esque, I still loved. It was incredible seeing him just like with the spears. Guy Gardner, Nathan, oh, what's his name? Nathan Filoni? No, that's Dave Filoni. Nathan Fillion. He was hilarious, honestly. When he was talking about the glasses with Lois, and then he was like, "So you know he's Clark Kent?" Killed me. When he was, when they went to the border between the two countries, and he was like, "Soup's not here, but I'm the upgrade." I love that. He was just like such a good comedic relief. And that was another thing that James Gunn did really well here. He didn't overuse the comedy, and it fit within the actual story. Not only the story, but also fit within the world. Isabella Merced. That's it. We can move on to the next part. Lex Luthor, Nicholas Hoult. Oh my lord, the hater energy on this. When he acknowledged his own envy, that speech, at that moment, and then he goes, 1A, like, and the fact that that's the first move that he ever made, which to program against fighting Superman is crazy, especially after his whole speech about brain versus brawn, whatever, when he was there pretending that he was the one actually doing the damage, but it was his brain that was doing the damage. That was a great moment. Anything with Nicholas Hoult was fantastic. When he killed the falafel vendor, that shocked me. That was the first moment that made me go in the theater, because I did not expect that to happen at all. And then we got the whole metamorpho scene, which I don't know anything about his character. He seemed a little, not too emotional, but given his design, I expected him to be a little bit more like cold-hearted, but I didn't mind it. I gotta talk about the colors, bro. The comic book energy in this, I feel like every single scene is like you flipping through a comic. And I don't remember the last time I felt like that watching a movie, a live action, obviously Across the Spider-Verse and Into, come on now, but a live action, I mean, maybe No Way Home, but I'm saying visually, each scene was just, this is a comic panel, even the dialogue, it felt like I was looking at speech bubbles mid movie, and it was fantastic. Like, no pun intended with Fantastic Four coming out at the end of the month, but it was fantastic. But the thing is that it felt so real within the context of the movie that it didn't take you out of it, even when there was comedy, even during the action, which looked great. Some moments could have done but whatever. I was so enthralled with the movie and the setting and the characters and the exposition and the colors and all that, that honestly I don't care about any of the flaws. Realistically, if you're looking at this from a critical standpoint, this movie's probably like a 6 out of 10. But the emotional beats and everything that I feel that I know Superman to be was displayed here pretty well, and that makes it an 8 to 9 out of 10 for me. Another really good moment that was in the trailers was when the little kid is putting up the flag and saying Superman. When I watched the trailers and that score came in, I cried. And seeing it in theaters, I cried again, or almost cried. I cried at that. I cried. I think I cried during the Pa and Ma Kent scenes, because it just like, it just struck a chord with me, knowing that this overpowered, superpowered being, and especially at this point in the movie, this was after we found out the second half was his original Kryptonian parents saying that he was sent there to destroy the world, and he had spent so much time, his life, defending it because of who raised him. And having Pa Kent just mush over him and in such a short amount of time show us as the audience, even if you don't really know what's going on in terms of their relationship, you can tell the love that was there as they raised him. Him being on the bed after escaping the rift and all that, and like having to recover, and even little moments of Pa Kent being like, "You were asleep the whole day. You've never done that," or something. There was something to that effect. And then even him, Superman, Clark Kent being outside with his bare feet out, eating a bowl of cereal. Like, that little decision just showed so much. That emotional connection was just something that I was not expecting to happen, to be honest. But that's when I almost cried. I almost cried at the scene with the kid putting up the flag, because that moment, that third act, second to third act, um, of, and they were pretty much together. So it was tough not to cry. The scene of the kid and then the pop can and all that. But that moment, that is what Superman means to me, and what I always thought and assumed Superman was, which was a symbol of hope, symbol of peace, symbol of something to do better, that people rely on you, the good in the world. And fuck, seeing that on the big screen, the way that it was, with the music and everyone chanting Superman, Superman, and knowing that he was at his lowest point and then still came back and saved the day, and that the other superheroes went out there, even though he asked them or whatever, but they still did it regardless. Oh my god, this movie, bro. Other really, really nice scenes in terms of just a fun time. I loved when like I mentioned, the cameos. The first cameo being Peacemaker. He's mad because he's not as buff as me or whatever. That was hilarious. But when Superman was standing outside the window and saying, he's not even a good dog, but he's out there and he's probably scared. You see what I'm saying, bro? That is what this symbol means to me. It's not a super deep moment, but just him saying that, he's scared and alone. Like, and he's going there regardless of how he feels about him, regardless of if he's been a bad dog. And I love that. And then before that, when he was sipping the coke and he was like, ah, that's good cocoa. Like, it's just little things like that, bro, that just like really got me into the movie. Let's talk a little bit about Lex, because he is the definition of a hater. And I loved every scene. I don't know how accurate it is to the comics. I haven't seen much of Lex except maybe some Justice League stuff. Honestly, I don't even remember. I remember he has like a mech suit, and I know that and there's like a run or an issue where he becomes president, but I don't know anything about Lex at all. So this was like my first real experience with him, and he's just a hater, just a straight up hater. And I can't even fault. I can't hate the fact that he's a hater, because he was standing on business the whole film. He started a war so that he could kill Superman. Excuse me? That's like the definition of a hater. The fact that he didn't want close the rift until knowing that the citizens had evacuated, he was like, oh, there's no people in there anyway, just let it destroy everything. Like, he was so blinded by his hatred for Superman that he doesn't care about anything else. And I'm assuming that's how he is in the comics, but it came across like that real quick as an audience member, and I loved it. What else did I really love? Superman saving the squirrel, fantastic. Superman trying to save everybody was really, really good. One thing I wish we got more of, though, was Daily Planet. I feel like we didn't get to sit enough with Jimmy Olsen, Perry White, Cat, whatever her name is, I don't know. Michaela Hoover, I think is the actress's name. I wish we got more of the Daily Planet, because I feel like we didn't get enough. Like, we just got a little bit of Jimmy Olsen, a little bit of, like, mainly Lois, of course, but I feel like they could have done more with it, even though they did do a lot. But yeah, I mean, you can't really cram more into this movie, because what we got was just so great that I'm okay with it, but it is something I wish we had more of. Superman just saving people which they showed in the second trailer, which I wish it didn't, because it would have been cool to see that shot for the first time of the camera coming around the car and him being like this underneath the building. That would have been a really cool shot. But I loved it regardless, especially seeing basically him coming out of the dust. That was beautiful. Him coming out of the dust and the logo. Speaking of the logo, when the logo went up to the screen and he did the laser vision thing, seeing that in IMAX, top notch. The laser vision or the heat vision looked really good, especially from the fight with Ultraman and all that, with the Superman clone. I need to see this movie again. I need to see it again. I need to. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I need to see this movie again. The second cameo was the Supergirl cameo. That one, big surprise. I did not expect that at all. When she came around the corner, I was like, did you move the door? I was like, in the theater. And then she was like, is that my dog? Where's my dog at? And then it jumped on her and it was like pushing her to the ground and then spinning her around. And then we got the quick exposition of like, yeah, it's red sun she could get drunk, on a yellow one you can't. That's why wasn't there or is not there on Earth. I love that little quick exposition thing because it gives you the information without it being like telling you to your face. He was telling it to Gary, Robot 4. And Fantastic Four, bro. I might cut that. 8 to 9 out of 10 for me as a comic book lover. It was everything that I feel like we needed in a Superman film. Everything I feel like we needed in an actual film, especially with the political state of the world, which it was a huge commentary on. Which, real quick, I'm not gonna delve too deep into it. I might make it a TikTok video, honestly. But if you're a fan of comic books and these stories, and you're an actual fan that you've been reading these since you were a child or for a long time or whatever, and you're upset about the political messaging or the wokeness of the film, you need to get your brain checked, because comics have always been and always will be political in some way, shape, or form. And if you complain about the scene of Lex calling Superman an alien, and then him being like, I'm a human just like everyone else, there is something wrong with you. Because yes, Superman is an illegal immigrant. Yes, he was created by two Jewish guys around the time of World War II. Yes, he may represent values of good version of America, but he doesn't represent America. He represents doing good. He represents trusting in people. He represents saving people, helping people, regardless of who they are. If you have a problem with that, there's something wrong with you, and you're not an actual fan of the character. I don't know what the issue is with like this wokeness now, but it's stupid. It's stupid. With that, I'll segue into the negatives, which for me there aren't none, except for maybe one, which is like the act structure kind of was drawn out for the second act. From the first to second act, it felt a little slow getting into it, but once it picked up really well. And besides that little part, which kind of dragged down a little bit for me, I don't have many issues with it. From a filmmaking standpoint, yeah, there's some lines that are cheesy or whatever. Visually, there might be some little oddities that don't look as good. The Hawk Girl screams got a little annoying. Nowhere near the goats in Love and Thunder, but it was a little annoying. I could see that being a negative. But there's just so many other things that just overwhelm you in a good way that those negatives don't matter to me. Maybe on a second watch, I'll be a little bit more critical of it, but I had such a fun time with this movie, man. And I'm so happy that it's doing well. I'm so happy that it's been received well. And I'm a fan of DC. And I never thought I would say that because, well, I mean, you guys can't see it. But I mean, you got the Deadpool there. Back here, I got the Spider-Man posters up. I have a Spider-Man Lego set. Hell, I have this right here. Like, I'm a huge, and I have a bunch of comics in here too. I'm a huge Marvel fan, and I've always been since I was a child. But I'm gonna have to lock in with DC a little bit more. Even though recently I have been into it more. Peacemaker, the Suicide Squad, Penguin, I haven't watched actually. I should have watched that. The Batman, like I mentioned earlier. I had a really good time with this movie, and I hope that all of you that watched it had a good time as well. But with that being said, remember to stay happy, healthy, positive. Peace out.